Welcome to the Kaur Show. This is episode 23. Thank you all for joining today. I'm Ranjeet Kaur from the UK, and here with me is my co-host, Gurinder Kaur from Melbourne. Vaheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Vaheguru Ji Ki Fateh.
Vaheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Vaheguru Ji Ki Fateh. Penji, how are you?
I'm great, thank you. How are you?
I'm doing well.
That's great. Yes. Apart from us doing great, I think it's also very sad what's happening in Punjab currently with the Kisans and them fighting for their rights. I mean, what do you think about this, Benji?
That's right, Penji. Absolutely, the whole nation is actually looking at Punjab and what's happening in Delhi and all these protests and agitation and what's been happening. You know how the government of India is behaving towards Punjab and Sikhs, especially the whole world, wherever the Sikhs and the Punjabis are living, they are eyeing upon and they are actually condemning what the government is actually doing with them. So it's a shame, I'll say.
It's a real shame. Yeah. But it is good that social media plays a massive part in this, and it's at least now working to some advantage, Hannah. So
definitely. And the way that Punjab has come up and they broke all the barriers and all the hurdles, even, and the way they have been reaching to Delhi, that's really, a great job. And I'm really proud to be like from Punjab and being a Sikh.
Yes. No, it's and I think even this time, like celebrating Gurpurab, Guru Nanak Dev Ji's Gurpurab this year is absolutely going to be more amazing, inspirational because of all the Punjabs, what their people are doing right now. So if they can listen to Kirtan and have inspiration to carry on, then we from this far can definitely do the same thing. But today is a similar topic. We're still talking about Guru Nanak Dev Ji because it is Gurpurab tomorrow. And today's topic is Guru Nanak Dev Ji's forest. And we'll be speaking to Dr. Rajwant Singh from EcoSikh in the US. So we'll be having him on our show today. And we would like to welcome our guest and find out more about this topic.
Definitely.
Vaheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Vaheguru Ji Ki Fateh. How are you, Bhai Sahab?
Very well, Ji. Very well. Thank you so much.
No, thank you.
It's been a long time. We have been waiting to bring Bhai Sahab, and you were on our list, and it's really absolute pleasure to have you on the show.
I've been looking forward to being with you guys. Both of you. You have been such a wonderful activists for the entire community and bringing up so many wonderful and important issues in our radar screen. So thank you so much.
No, thank you. Thank you very much. So if you can tell our audience a little bit about yourself.
Yes, I have been in the United States since 1979, and I came as a student, and I went to undergraduate studies, and went to graduate. I became a dentist, and I've been in Washington, D.C. since then. And I've been very much involved in the Sikh community affairs since the very beginning. Or before that, I was in Kolkata or Calcutta, what used to be. And I was, since my early teen years, I've been involved in the Sikh Students Federation in Calcutta. And then I was also part of the Punjab Federation. But after coming to the United States, I've been more focusing on organizing here. So we've been involved with the White House and the US Congress elected officials, and also been part of the Interfaith Conference on behalf of the Sikh community, and try to increase the awareness. And we had launched a national Sikh campaign, a sort of a media campaign to educate Americans about Sikh identity and turban and various observances of our faith. So, and EcoSikh is another initiative that we have launched.
Yes. So when did EcoSikh get initiated? So when did this get started?
That was in 2009, when United Nations had called a major summit of all the nations and head of states in Copenhagen, but it did not go well because Obama, Manmohan Singh, and leading India, and Obama, United States, and Chinese premier, they could not come together to form this agreement. So it collapsed. And at that time, United Nations Secretary General Ban Ki-moon gave a call to all the religions of the world that it is time that they come forward and really involve the masses and all the people who believe in each of these faiths to take action on climate. So in response to this call, we started EcoSikh with the blessings and support of the United Nations, and it was launched at the Windsor Castle in your part of the world, in the presence of Prince Philip and Ban Ki-moon and various World Bank officials and various international organizations.
Absolutely amazing. Faisal, we have seen that whatever the campaigns you have run, like so far, be it EcoSikh, be it on Sikh campaign that you have run in the past as well, and still doing a lot of work on Guru Nanak's 550th Prakash Purab anniversary, and now leading to the 551. We know it's always been massive campaigns that you have run, and the work actually speaks worldwide. Now, with regard to today's topic, which is Guru Nanak Dev Ji's forest, I know EcoSikh has done a great job. Like when we talk about planting trees, especially on the 550th anniversary, which was last year. So, could you please elaborate, like how did that idea develop, and what kind of work was actually done in that particular campaign?
Sure. Back in July 2018, we sort of came up with the idea that why don't we do or take action in such a manner which can really further Guru Nanak's vision in the world while we are celebrating Guru Nanak's birthday. Because usually we celebrate, jalebiyan pakode and Nagar Kirtan and Langar and all kinds of festivities that usually we do in a traditional manner. So we wanted to come up with an idea which would be long-lasting, and the way we would do something which could be beneficial to not just the Sikh community, but the rest of the world. So we thought that why don't we plant 1 million trees? And we launched this campaign in July 2018. And from July 2018 to February 2019, we had formed about 23 different teams throughout Punjab and a couple of teams outside of Punjab. And we started planting. And we had planted close to, I would say, 40,000 trees, which was a traditional plantation. And what we discovered was many of these trees were dying and they could not survive. And it took a lot more effort to plant these trees and also to really care for them or nurture them. So we were having really a tough time, and we were just trying to see how we can keep the momentum going. There was a lot of enthusiasm among the young people, and we had conducted many of these training sessions and volunteer induction days in various parts of Punjab. So finally, by Guru's grace, I happened to be in Mumbai, and I was invited by this gentleman called, his name is Charan Singh, and he's based in Delhi, but he has an industrial unit in Tarapur, which is a city outside of Mumbai. And this is the place where India's first atomic plant, a nuclear plant, is in operation there. And it's a very, very heavily industrial city. And it's a lot of pollution, a lot of industrial waste is just thrown in various parts of this city. And it's very, very dangerous to be working in those conditions. So this Sikh gentleman, Sardar Charan Singh, came across this methodology called Miyawaki forests. And he started this forest outside of his own industry area, and then and it was actually industrial waste area, and so he had to fight with the local city officials and various other authorities to give him that piece of land so he could plant this forest. So this forest was just a miracle in the heart of this industrial city and most polluted area. And this forest just flourished. And so he talked about this forest and showed me what is possible, what he was able to do. I got so excited. We had a lot of other meetings planned, and we said, no, let's just go to Tarapur. I want to see it for myself. So we went there, and I tell you, I completely got transformed. We said that this forest methodology has to come to Punjab, and we have to take the lead on making this a popular methodology in rest of India, rest of Punjab, and rest of the world. So on March 14th, which is the Sikh Environment Day, in Punjab, we launched our first Guru Nanak Sacred Forest in Bathinda. And since then, we haven't looked back.
This is absolutely amazing, Paisap, and especially talking about that, having this kind of forest in industrial area. I think that's epic. Just in regard to that, recently we know that there was a campaign regarding Mattewada Forest, which was in near Ludhiana, and we've heard so much like protests going with that as well. There was a campaign run to save that as well. We don't know where this has ended so far. So how do you think, like, on one hand, the government is actually trying to destroy whatever is left, and one of the biggest forests, which are, the last ones kind of left in Punjab, and the other hand, we are doing so many efforts and running all these worldwide campaigns. Where do you think, like, within Punjab, we stand today with all these efforts?
Well, this decision by Punjab government was really it's a catastrophic decision, because most of the forests in Punjab is gone. We only have 3 to 4% left, and compared to rest of India, we are the lowest of the low in among all the state areas. And Punjab is facing a dire circumstances for our children, for our elderly. There are so many diseases related to the pollution and environmental degradation. The water is polluted, and it's just beyond our sort of normal thinking. Why would anybody try to destroy the only forest left in Punjab? And it is considered really the lungs of Punjab, and it is one of the most beautiful and most diverse area for anybody to go. The students come there, research scientists are always there to find out more about the species. It still needs a lot of care. I mean, it has been not cared for, but it's still, there is something left there which could be of immense value for all of us, for our future generations. But government has decided that it was going to take away a part of that and turn into an industrial area, which we know that it's down the road. It's not going to be just limited to that area. Many of the laborers who are going to move in that area, they're going to destroy the rest of the surroundings, and it's just going to completely wipe out whatever we've got. So we raised our voice, and we were heard in the media. We were able to generate a lot of interest among the masses throughout Punjab and rest of the world. But government, in India, they know how to distract people and continue with their destructive policies. So we are still raising voice. We are still trying to persuade the Punjab government. But they come up with all kinds of excuses that Punjab needs industrial development. We know more employment. People are running away. People are leaving Punjab. So we have to do this. So there is a disconnect, and there is sort of a confrontation of various interests. And there are so many mafias working in Punjab, which are always using politicians for their own purposes.
Baisab, thank you so much for that. When did you discover the issues for Punjab? And so when you saw Charan Singh in Tarapur do his magic there with the forest. So when did you decide to come to Punjab and do that? When did you find out about the environment having an issue?
Well, I have been actually involved in environmental issues since 1990, when I attended the first environmental gathering. It was called Global Forum on Human Survival. This was hosted by the Soviet government at that time by Gorbachev. And my interest has been there, and we were part of the interfaith uh, conference here in Washington. So we've been trying to understand, and I was asked by United Nations to write a Sikh perspective on environment in 1995. And so our interest has been there. But after we launched EcoSikh, we wanted to see what is it that if we were going to tell the whole world what we believe in, if we believe in Pavan Guru, Pani Pita, Mata Tat Mahat, our founder has said that, Guru Nanak Dev Ji. If somebody were to come and say, okay, let's go to your homeland and let's see how Sikhs are implementing this in their own homeland, we would have nothing to show. As we have all seen that Punjab is 86% of Punjab's land is cultivated land, and although we take a lot of credit for making India is self-sufficient in terms of food production, and we provide 30 to 40% of the food reserves of the rest of India. But it had an impact on our environment. Our water, air, and land is severely polluted because we try to grow 2 or 3 crops a year, and we put so much chemicals. And now the impact is seen by people having so many diseases. The cancer is rising. So we wanted to come up with a plan which would engage and create an awareness about environmental issues. So that's how EcoSikh launched its campaign in 2009. And we started this World Sikh Environment Day also, just to again create awareness. So the more we got involved, the more we discovered that Punjab is facing a disaster. And we are already seeing the effect of it. So that's why we felt that we needed to do something on Guru Nanak's birthday, which will be positive, which will be helpful to our homeland, to Punjab, as well as to our people, as well as to the entire world. So that's how planting trees became our passion, and now it's the forests.
Definitely. We're having some comments as well, and some comments coming from Delhi by 1469, Harinder Singh and Gurinder Kaur. And they are asking, actually, Harinder Singh ji is asking, thanks for making it, and please do share your role in making interfaith effective in USA. And he is also sharing his experience that we have never experienced such a gala event where US Congress top guys attending and complimenting interfaith event. My next question is also related to that, and we know that along with EcoSikh, you have done a lot of work in running the Sikh campaign at a very international level and involving, very high authorities, as Harinder Singh ji has mentioned as well. And probably talking about 550th celebrations, EcoSikh event, how do you connect, the message of Guru Nanak Dev Ji when we say Pavan Guru Pani Pita, you just mentioned as well. Maybe to our audience, if you could, share the importance of from Sikh mythology, we can say, from the Sikh teachings of environment and connecting it with EcoSikh. If you could share some views on that as well.
Yes, I think we have not been able to really understand the grand vision of our gurus. Guru Nanak Dev Ji, 550 years ago, there isn't any other example of any other religious founder or a spiritual leader who have given a slogan which will be sort of applicable for time immemorial. I mean, what the way I understand Pavan Guru Pani Pita is Guru Nanak wants us to have a very personal relationship with nature. So just as we would not dishonor our mother, our father, our teacher, similarly, he wanted us to have that kind of loving relationship with Pavan, Pani, and Tarti. So if you consider them as your parents and as your teacher, and Guru Nanak has used nature as a teaching tool in many of his shabads. He has always inspired Sikhs to look at nature and find inspiration and see how we can experience Vaheguru's presence around us. And nature is the first place to go. So that vision has so much potential for future generations, and it can really transform our thinking and the way we are using our natural resources. So that's why we feel that this Shabad should not just be sung in the Gurdwaras with the beautiful Vajja and Tabla and Tolki and beautiful voices. It has a very practical application for our lives and our future. And if we want to save Mother Earth and for future generations, this is the agenda that we need to further and really make it a popular slogan for the rest of the entire humanity. I mean, just like Gagan mein thal Rav Chand Deepak Bane Tarka Mandal Janak Moti. Again, one of the hymns that which is really a what Rabindranath Tagore said, it's a world anthem. But we have not been able to really take out these ideas outside of the boundaries of our gurdwaras. We have just surrounded it with beautiful walls and beautiful gold ਦੇ ਗੁੰਬਦ ਬਣਾ ਦਿੱਤੇ ਨੇ ਐਕਸਪੈਂਸਿਵ ਰੁਮਾਲਿਆਂ ਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਸਾਰੀਆਂ ਟੀਚਿੰਗਸ ਨੂੰ ਅਸੀਂ ਢੱਕ ਕੇ ਉਹਦੇ ਤੇ ਚੌਰ ਕਰੀ ਜਾ ਰਹੇ ਹਾਂ. This is not how Guru Nanak would have liked it, and Guru Nanak traveled throughout the world to get this message across, and that's what we need to do by whatever actions we take in the name of Guru Nanak, in the name of our Gurus, in our celebrations. Everything should be focused on how to create more awareness about the teachings of Guru Granth Sahib and Guru Nanak Dev. So that's how we felt that creating these forests will have a long-lasting impact for the entire humanity and the world.
That's absolutely amazing. I love how you mentioned that in the way you have. I think it's really nice. When you were talking about the creation, and how many people were required to help you with making Punjab green again, or somewhat green, when you started this project?
Well, I mean, by 2019 beginning, we had about 23 teams, as I had mentioned, or 25 teams. We had close to 200 volunteers who were young people, young professionals, college students, high school students. But what we have discovered is that, once you involve in a forest making, you can get a whole village get involved. And so many people are required to participate in each forest making. We ask the children to get involved, volunteers, ladies, men, women of all ages, they get involved. And so then there is an emotional attachment. And because we call it a Guru Nanak sacred forest, there is a reverence towards this operation, this initiative. So we use every strategy to create a sense of connection with the local population and local villagers. So they care for it and they nurture it as their own project. And it's very, very important. Otherwise, you may go and plant something, but if there is no sense of ownership, this project is not going to survive. So that was the whole methodology of involving the local population and village from sarpanch level to a very common person who involved in the village.
And so do you run workshops or forest training workshops for the people that don't have any idea?
Yes, that's a very good question. We actually, when we planted our first forest in Bathinda, we trained close to 65 young people from all over Punjab. They were invited, we hosted them, we make arrangements for them to stay there for 3 days. It's a three-day operation to plant one forest. And we provided all the boarding and lodging and food. And these young people then, many of them turn out to be forest makers for future projects. So we have had several workshops and these training sessions in various parts of the Punjab. We just had one in February before the lockdown in Fatehgarh Sahib at the Banda Bahadur Engineering College run by SGPC. And I was there, and it was just amazing to see people from Bihar had come, people from UP and various other parts of India, and many from Punjab, young people. You can and many of them were females, ਬੀਬੀਆਂ ਜਿਹੜੀਆਂ ਇਹਦੇ ਚ involved ਹੋ ਰਹੀਆਂ ਨੇ. So that is the most powerful thing you can do, is to engage the young people, to make them see what they can do to turn things around.
Absolutely amazing. And Dr. Saab, we know that with every project comes challenges and opportunities as well. So considering the work that you have been doing, especially in Punjab, what are the main challenges that you have faced so far, and also about the opportunities to grow this project as well? If you could,
Yes,
share
yes.
something on
Well,
that.
thank you so much. That's a very good question. Well, first is, usually people, because of this whole operation of tree plantation by Badal government, and then many politicians and many NGOs collected funds and planted trees, and many picture taking opportunity videos released and news that, oh, we are ਅਸੀਂ trees plant kar rahe hain. So there was, and many of them, 99% of these trees don't survive, and people have total distrust. And people, when we announced that we were going to plant 1 million trees, we also got a lot of pushback, and people said that, ਤੁਸੀਂ ਇੱਕ ਹੋਰ ਆ ਗਏ. And this is another one. Now they're going to exploit the media for their own propaganda, for their own prachar. So there was an uphill battle for us to convince people that no, this is different. This is a new thing. So it took us a while for people to see that we were serious, and it takes about 9 months or 10 months or a year to really show the growth of a forest. So we had to really be very patient with convincing people, and we were able to slowly getting interest among the educational institutions, and a few projects at the rural level. But once the growth, that people were able to see, it just became, it was speaking for itself. And now, with Vaiguru's grace, we have planted 182 forests in Punjab and rest of other parts of India. And the second challenge, the second challenge is that people again have this idea that we are NGO, we are collecting money from outside, so why should we be paying for anything? They should just come and plant a forest in our village. Sade pind ch vi lagao ji, sadi thaan te vi lagao ji, sade gurdware vi laga do. So our sort of strategy is that if there is not an investment at the local level in planting this forest and caring for it, it's not going to survive. If anything is free, people are just not going to have that sense of ownership and sense of sort of connection that this is my investment. So that's why we always say that some of this cost has to be borne by the locals, and they have to invest, and they have to see that this is for their own future. And so that is another challenge to convince people. ਜੇ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਲੰਗਰ ਲਗਾਉਣਾ ਹੋਵੇ, if you want to organize a local langar in a village or during any Gurpurab celebration, and if you were to ask anybody to donate, people have no problem. ਅਸੀਂ ਛਬੀਲ ਲਾਉਣੀ ਹੋਵੇ, ਲੰਗਰ ਲਗਾਉਣਾ ਹੋਵੇ, people just gave money for that. But if you say ਕਿ ਅੱਛਾ let's plant a forest, they say no, ਇਹ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਪੈਸੇ ਕਿਉਂ ਮੰਗਦੇ ਹੋ? ਤੁਸੀਂ ਪੈਸੇ ਬਾਹਰੋਂ ਆ ਰਹੇ ਨੇ ਜੀ, ਤੁਸੀਂ forest ਲਗਾਓ. So that's something which has been, how do we make environmental action equally revered action and a part of our religious duty? That is something which we have been trying to teach people, and slowly we are finding that it is working. People are seeing that this is a need, and this is another way to practice our faith. This is another way of implementing just as we are the stars ਦੇ ਜਾਂਦੇ ਆ, ਅਸੀਂ ਆਪਣੇ ਗੁਰੂ ਵਾਲੇ ਦਿਖਣਾ ਚਾਹੁੰਦੇ ਆ, ਤੇ ਜਦੋਂ ਅਸੀਂ ਕੋਈ ਕੰਮ ਵੀ ਕਰੀਏ ਉਹਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਵੀ ਸਾਡੇ ਗੁਰੂ ਦੀ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਛਵੀ ਸਾਹਮਣੇ ਆਵੇ ਲੋਕਾਂ ਦੇ ਸਾਹਮਣੇ. So that's how we are trying to connect people with Sikhi.
Bilkul, you have touched a very important point, and as you mentioned that there are so many other individuals, organizations as well, who just come and they're doing similar kind of projects as well. But of course, I think a project is only not complete if you start it. It's up to the implementation and also how long if it has actually followed the vision of that project as well. So until that vision is not achieved, we can't say that that project is successful. And we know that EcoSikh has a vision of that. Now, Paisab, just for the reference of what other projects are actually happening, I know people have been growing trees, but not looking after. Like after 6 months, they put up the photographs. Okay, trees grown,
Yes.
but nothing after 6 months or something like that. I think we definitely need to send a message from this platform as well, just to so that people are cautious of what are they are getting involved with.
Yes. I again, if I can talk about how this forest is different than a mere tree plantation. If people understand what is forest making and what is tree plantation, there's a complete, a huge difference. If you plant a single tree, and usually 6-7 ਫੁੱਟ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਅਸੀਂ ਇੱਕ ਟਰੀ ਲਗਾਉਂਦੇ ਹਾਂ, ਤੇ ਇੱਕ ਜੇ ਸਪੋਜ਼ ਕਰੋ ਤੁਸੀਂ 100 trees ਲਗਾਏ ਨੇ, if you planted 100 trees, it will take double the time or triple the time for you to care for it and to water them and to make sure that these trees survive. So you need a lot of resources, a lot of water, a lot of manpower, and to care for 100 trees. But if you were to plant a forest in the area of 200 square meter, you can plant 550 trees. Your caring time and your resources are 25% of what you will be doing for caring for 100 trees. So that's something which people need to understand, that caring for a forest and planting a forest is much cheaper, and the growth is 30 times denser, and it is 10 times more sort of growth, and it's 100% more diverse, and the survival rate is, what I want to tell your audience is, 99% of the trees survive. Can you imagine that? There is no methodology, there is no way you can guarantee that if you plant 100 trees that 99% will survive. The survival rate is only 10%, and that's why India has claimed that it has planted 65 million trees. I go to these international meetings and they say, oh, your government has planted, or India has planted that many trees. I said, how many of them survived? There is no record for that. And similarly, Punjab government has also claimed that they have planted 550 villages, which ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ 550 ਰੁੱਖ ਲਗਾਏ ਨੇ. So they are claiming 3.5 lakh या 7.5 lakh trees have been planted or in rest of Punjab. And I was in Punjab this past February, and there were big posters all around Punjab with big picture of Gurinder Singh saying, we have planted 750 lakh trees, and this is the accomplishment of our government. Now the caring is upon you. You need to make sure that they survive. So now if they don't survive, the blame will go to the people in villages. The government has no responsibility. So we are saying that let's not do these things which don't have the assurity of them surviving. Take an action which we can make sure that they survive. So this is why we feel Guru Nanak Sacred Forest is the way to go.
Yes, thank you so much for that. It's eye-opening. I saw on your website regarding, is it Shubhendu Sharma?
Yeah.
A legendary forest creator. So how was it working alongside Mr. Sharma?
Well, he's an amazing individual, very inspirational. He was he was involved in car industry, Toyota employee, and very successful one, and making good money. But suddenly he had this, transformation. He became a forest maker, and we invited him to give us the first training in Bathinda, and he was involved in planting the first forest. And since then, he himself now says that EcoSikh is my organization, and we have invited him to become our advisor. And he's going around and actually giving example of our Sikh young people and the people of Punjab, how they have really welcomed this concept and how people have embraced this whole idea. And now we have planted 92 forests in Punjab out of the 182. 92 are in Punjab. And the growth is amazing, and the opportunity is tremendous. And, the greatest thing which Shubhendu has appreciated about EcoSikh is that there are not too many environmental groups, even in the Western countries. The very big names that we know don't have common masses getting involved at a very ground level and getting their hands and feet dirty. This is what is the strength of our community and EcoSikh, is that we have been able to involve local people, young people, to get their hands dirty and to make sure that they become the future environmental warriors. And that is something which Shubhendu is so proud of, and we have a wonderful relationship with him.
How do you ensure regular watering to the forests that are done then? So when the creators come in at, they're inspirational because their thinking and forward planning is amazing, whether it's 20 months or 10 years. But how do you make sure that watering from the locals is done?
Okay, that's a very good question. You will be surprised that let's say if you were to plant a forest of 550 trees on a 200 square meter, which is only 6 car parking. And these are, I'm talking about the Indian cars like Maruti or choti cars hundiyan. So 6 car parking is where you can plant 550 trees. And per tree, you only need half a liter of water. So 600 liters is all you need, half an hour in the morning and a half an hour in the evening. So that's all the time that you need to spend. And once a week, you have to do de-weeding. So there is very little care, and the growth is amazing. You don't need to do anything else. Just water and many of the forests we have seen that people have only given water for a month and a half. And they said कि जी ਅਸੀਂ ਤਾਂ ਪਾਣੀ ਦੇਣਾ ਬੰਦ ਕਰਤਾ ਉਹ ਫਿਰ ਵੀ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦੀ growth ਉਹਨੇ ਦੀ ਉਨੀ ਹੈ. So it's a very technique specific. You have to follow very specific methodology to plant a forest, but if it's done the proper way, then the survival and the care the survival is great and the caring is lesser. Many of the people who have tried to copy this idea in Punjab, they are calling it Miyawaki forests, but we have seen the growth is not there because they don't use all the different steps which are laid down in the forest making. And if you skip anything just to save resources, or you say, oh, nahi edi lod nahi, aa kar lo, edda kar lo, udda kar lo. Nahi, you cannot do that. You cannot shortcut in forest making, and you cannot undercut any of the things that you need to do to make sure that forest becomes a successful forest in future.
I think that's a very important information, and we are learning so much on the go as well. So just, Dr. Saab, we know that all the gurus, starting from Guru Nanak, up to Guru Gobind Singh Ji, and even Jinnevi saints, those who have written Gurbani in Guru Granth Sahib Ji as well. We know every guru has actually laid the importance of, existence, and especially Mother's Earth. But still, we are seeing that whenever we're celebrating their Prakash Purab, we talk about values. So again, we say prevention is better than cure. But we are wasting so much, as you mentioned in the beginning as well, that we spend so much on jalebis and all these different kind of langars. And I've seen so much of your posters as well, where you have given a very due importance on, stopping this wastage and all these unnecessary garbage that we are creating on this Mother's Earth. So I think I'll say along with tree planting, are you also running campaigns to to avoid all this rubbish as well?
Yes, that's a very important point to bring up. Actually,
Mm,
when we started EcoSikh, we wanted to come up with a plan which will, how do we engage masses? How do we sort of get the Sikh psyche to buy this idea? And we wanted to sort of highlight an icon in our history, in our sort of consciousness, and as a collective, what are the things that we feel inspires us about Sikh? So it is all about gurus. If you have anything related to gurus, Sikhs, you know, take that and they buy it and they go for it. So we felt that we need to come up with an idea which will engage Sikhs with the history, with our philosophy, with our way of living. So one of the icons, which was sort of an obscure figure in our talks, in our katha, in our sort of daily routine in the Sikh gurdwaras, is our seventh Guru, Guru Har Rai Ji. The only two or three sakhis we would repeat about Guru Har Rai Ji is ਜਿਹੜੀ ਰਾਮ ਰਾਏ ਵਾਲੀ ਸਾਖੀ ਹੈ ਜਾਂ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਆਪਣੇ ਬੇਟੇ ਨੂੰ ਵੀ disown ਕਰ ਦਿੱਤਾ. So there wasn't much we talked about Guru Har Rai. So we felt that Guru Har Rai Ji was the great environmentalist. He was the first one to talk about that we need to care for nature. The Sakhi about Guru Har Gobind Ji telling him that your chola has, because he was sad that his chola had, you know, ਇੱਕ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਗੁਲਾਬ ਦਾ ਫੁੱਲ ਟੁੱਟ ਗਿਆ. So that Sakhi and this whole methodology of planting a garden with so many species, and then he had a herbal garden and he cared for animals and uh, created a herbal medicine program in Kirtpur Sahib. So we highlighted that we should celebrate his Gurgadi Day as the Sikh Environment Day, which is on March 14th. So we, in 2010 was the first year we asked SGPC, we asked many gurdwaras and institutions to celebrate this day as a Sikh Environment Day. And we were surprised. There was a great response. 700 gurdwaras and education institutions, including SGPC, agreed to celebrate on March 14th. All day, the Darbar Sahib Kirtan was focused on in nature. We created a booklet called Ek Bagicha. It is on our website. All the shabads by gurus and Guru Granth Sahib and Bhai Gurdas are listed in this one particular booklet, that any ragi, any pracharak can pick up a shabad from about nature from this booklet and sing it on Sikh Environment Day. So then we created a whole campaign to popularize this idea of Sikh Environment Day. And now I'm proud to say that we are the only faith community in the entire spectrum of all the religions in the world. We are the only one which has its own Environment Day. And the Jewish community and the Muslims and the Hindus, they have come to us and they say, how do we create a celebration of such kind in our faith? So Hindus have started a Shivratri week, like a Earth week. And Jews are still trying to figure out what to do with their celebrations and how do they connect with nature. Muslims have started Green Hajj. So this idea became this became an anchor around which we created a talk shows and media events, and we have calculated in our campaign since 2010, we have been able to engage or reach to almost 6 million people. Through our social media campaigns and how many people have engaged through media. That's the kind of number with the social media. I mean, it is a multiplying effect. And now last year we had 5,000 gurdwaras, schools, colleges, institutions celebrate this day. And we have a list of 7 steps to celebrate the 7th Guru. You can, start using steel pandey, stop using plastic, take care of the water, repair the water taps in the Gurdwara at your home, take a bicycle ride or something, you can take So people have been enthusiastically embracing these ideas, and now it has become we don't even have to do any campaign. People are doing it on their own in the Gurdwara.
That's amazing. You've got 5,000 places together to come on board with your idea. I think it's really, really good, and it's definitely eye-opening.
And it is the largest mass action on one particular day for environment. That's another thing.
That's another thing. Yes, definitely. I think that's amazing. I'm going back to the project about the planting trees because I'm like still back in thinking about how does this actually get done. So when you in Punjab, how do you find an area where who tells you that there's a certain area that needs a plan, getting permission, people to help you, professionals, plants? How do you know which area to start with in Punjab?
Well, actually, we say that if you have a 200 square meter land anywhere in a college, in a school, in Gurdwara, and just a Shamshan Ghat, the jagah hundi hai where people, funeral places, anywhere it's a common land of the village or panchayat land, uh, that can be designated. And what we ask for people is to fence it, and then we will come and prepare the land. And but anywhere, any place, whether it's in the suburbs or urban areas or in rural areas, any place you can plant this forest. There is no restriction. There is no requirement that you can't do it here or you can't do that. All we have to do is study the soil, and then once we know the the, the content of the soil, then we create a certain methodology through which that soil can be made into more fertile, and the forest can be planted. We have been able to plant a forest in Rajasthan, which is really a place where they say "Uthe the do tin species to alawa you can't plant more than 2 or 3 species." And now, if you go there in Maruvan, we have planted a forest and a year old. It is thriving, and the locals are crazy about this forest. They said, we have never seen a forest surviving in Rajasthan. So there is now a movement to engage with the Rajasthan government to plant forests. So anywhere through your program, we are appealing to all the Sikhs or people living in Australia, UK, or anywhere. If you have a land which has no use, turn into a Guru Nanak sacred forest. This is one way you can help Punjab as well as for future generations.
That's absolutely, I think, a wonderful idea. And of course, I think to our viewers, if you can spread this message, that will really be great. And we can, can then nale punate nale faliyan. So it will be amazing idea, I think, if we can help Punjab in that way. Paisab, just considering the time that we have been left with, we are getting so many questions, but we are constrained by the time. And I don't want to miss this question. It's regarding the the current protest that's happening in Punjab, Kisan protests, and we know that the recent agitation that they have been taking to Delhi. I think if you could share any message on that and your viewpoint, what's been happening to the farmers of Punjab.
Actually, to be very honest, I have a mixed feeling about this whole issue. I think, to be very honest, the current um, system under which this farming is being done is not sustainable, and there are issues on both sides will have to agree to. And I feel that the government is also not taking into consideration about the issues faced by the farmers, and how do we change the farming uh, techniques and methodologies through which it becomes more sustainable. At the same time, the farmers should also be ready to adopt to new way of farming. And so there are many issues which unfortunately is not being discussed in a proper way and proper platform. um, just for an example, like if the paddy and the wheat is yes, it's profitable, it is economically makes farming viable, in Punjab, but long term it's not sustainable. And there has to be a diversity. There has to be a way of farmers adopting to new ways of farming, and actually it is more profitable. But there are no subsidies, proper way of training or giving them ways of getting out of this cycle of paddy and wheat or other ways. So those are the issues which need to be discussed by the farmer organizations, a proper representation, and the government should also be willing to sit down and really see how they can make this a viable way of living for so many millions of people. And Punjab is hit harder by these policies because 87% of our land is cultivated, and most of our people are surviving on farming. So it has hit us much harder than any other community. So, but at the same time, I feel that our politicians have failed. They have let our people down. They have again and again, Congress government and Akali government have not taken the interest of the people in their mind when they negotiated many of these policies with the center or with the large corporations. And now we are seeing the effect of it. And now the Akalis are blaming BJP is blaming Congress is blaming BJP. So and then the farming organizations, many of them, they are again caught in this cycle of just sticking to the old ways of doing things. It cannot be. It has to be. All sides need to do a self-introspection and to make this a sustainable way of living in Punjab. The current farming ways of just going for paddy and wheat is not sustainable. We are already suffering. Punjab has only limited amount of time left that this land will remain a fertile land. It is headed towards becoming a desert because we are overusing water. We are overusing our land's capacity to grow these crops. So it's not going to be sustainable. And we may continue to ask for the same. See, the government should not have given free water or free electricity. They should have given subsidies at different ways of making farming more sustainable. And if you give free water and free electricity, then we are seeing the effect. Now the water table has gone beyond repair. And if it continues for next 10 years, forget about Punjab. So I'm sorry to bring, I don't want to repeat the same slogans as what people are saying, but we have to face the truth, and we have to find ways to help our brothers and sisters in a more concrete manner rather than just sloganeering. So that's something which I wanted to bring. I know some people may not be happy, but that's something we have to speak the truth.
Yes, no, thank you so much for your opinion. It's definitely true about the farm, about the environment in Punjab, that if the plants are not planted there, the forests are not there, if it's not brought back in, then Punjab will be a desert. And I think it's very passionate for those that go over, because you won't be able to go over within, I don't know how many years, 20 maybe, 20, 30 years. There won't be anywhere to go to.
Lesser.
Yeah, so that's why if these forests are planted now, you've got that chance of maybe some of it being saved in the 10 years that is being planted.
Yes.
And I think it's amazing how you mentioned that langar is important to everybody, like we make it, but the environment is not as equal, but it should be, because, tomorrow when we say Harmandir Sahib ja ke dekhna hai, ja we want to go to India, we won't be going anywhere if there's nowhere to go. So we should make it all as equal as possible. So I think it's really good that you've mentioned this. And before we play this video that we're going to play soon, we would like to thank Dr. Rajwant Singh for sharing your amazing journey with EcoSikh and your life experience and your knowledge, which has been been amazing. I've been taken aback, and I've learned so much as well myself. So Baisa, where can people find you if they want to be part of this project, or they want to contact or have ideas or some land?
Yes, they can contact the EcoSikh Facebook page or website, and my telephone is available on internet. I have an Instagram or Facebook page. They can send me a message, or they can send EcoSikh private message on Facebook, or contact the telephone number. But one thing which I want to leave with your brothers and sisters who are watching this program, that if you were to compare, the cost of planting a forest, it costs about $1,400 to plant one forest. And if you have a land, and if you have somebody who could take care of and just give water half an hour in the morning, half an hour in the evening for 6 months, this forest can grow and survive without you even worried about. And the greatest thing about this forest is it invites biodiversity. Many of these birds which have been sighted at these forests, they then take these seeds and plant it in different parts of Punjab. This is the greatest thing, that you can play with nature. And these forests are inviting so much biodiversity, which making this land more fertile, and it attracts more water. Groundwater is being lifted up by these trees, which are the native species, and many of these species are mentioned in Gurbani. So if you want to see Guru Granth Sahib being alive at the ground level, plant a forest. And it's only $1,400. Just imagine, with one investment of small kind of this, you're helping, I don't know how many generations, for 100 years, 200 years. This is how we can make Guru Nanak being alive and talking to us every day.
That's amazing. Thank you so, so much. Benji, Gurinder Kaur, did you want to have any last comments, speeches?
No, I think I've really learned so much. And, sometime you watch that information on the websites, but actually talking to Bhai Saab, I think I've really learned a lot. And I really think this message needs to, be widespread among the community, and do an intelligent and a smart investment, rather than, just putting donations and, doing this and that. We need to think in a smart way. And this is how we can actually contribute to environment and also learn from Guru's values. So thank you,
I really
Paisa.
appreciate
Absolutely, yeah, it was
giving me a
amazing.
chance to really communicate and find a connection with so many brothers. Thank you.
Our pleasure.
No, thank you so much. We will see you all again next week. And if you have any comments or a specific topic that you would like covered, please send us an email to hello@thekaurshow.com. And if you would like to see any of our previous shows, then please visit our website, thekaurshow.com. We're going to now play a video from the EcoSikh and show you how it's done.
Guru Nanak Dev ji ਦੇ 550ਵੇਂ ਪ੍ਰਕਾਸ਼ ਪੁਰਬ ਨੂੰ ਸਮਰਪਿਤ EcoSikh ਵੱਲੋਂ ਇੱਕ ਸੁਪਨਾ ਵੇਖਿਆ ਗਿਆ ਕਿ ਗੁਰੂ ਜੀ ਦਾ 550ਵਾਂ ਪੁਰਬ ਮਨਾਉਂਦਿਆਂ ਦੁਨੀਆ ਭਰ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ 10 ਲੱਖ ਰੁੱਖ ਲਗਾਏ ਜਾਣ। ਇਸੇ ਸੰਬੰਧ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ EcoSikh ਵੱਲੋਂ ਸ਼ੁਪਿੰਦੂ ਸ਼ਰਮਾ ਅਤੇ ਇਹ ਫੋਰੈਸਟ ਟੀਮ ਨੂੰ ਪੰਜਾਬ ਵਿੱਚ ਸੱਦਿਆ ਗਿਆ। ਇਹ ਫੋਰੈਸਟ ਟੀਮ ਮੀਆਂਵਾਕੀ ਤਕਨੀਕ ਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਦੁਨੀਆ ਭਰ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਜੰਗਲ ਲਗਾਉਂਦੇ ਨੇ। ਇਹ ਜੰਗਲ ਇੰਨੇ ਸੰਘਣੇ ਹੁੰਦੇ ਨੇ ਕਿ 300 ਗੱਜ ਵਰਗੀ ਛੋਟੀ ਥਾਂ ਤੇ ਵੀ ਅਸੀਂ ਇੱਕ ਸੰਪੂਰਨ ਜੰਗਲ ਲਗਾ ਸਕਦੇ ਹਾਂ। ਤੇ ਇਸੇ ਤਰ੍ਹਾਂ ਪਿੰਡ ਗਿਲਪਤੀ ਬਠਿੰਡਾ ਵਿਖੇ ਦਾਤਾਰ ਐਜੂਕੇਸ਼ਨ ਟਰਸਟ ਅਤੇ ਇਹ ਫੋਰੈਸਟ ਦੇ ਸਹਿਯੋਗ ਦੇ ਨਾਲ EcoSikh ਵੱਲੋਂ ਲਗਾਇਆ ਗਿਆ ਪਹਿਲਾ ਗੁਰੂ ਨਾਨਕ ਪਵਿੱਤਰ ਜੰਗਲ ਤੇ ਨਾਲ ਹੀ 100 ਤੋਂ ਵੱਧ ਸਿੱਖਿਆਰਥੀਆਂ ਨੂੰ ਜੰਗਲ ਲਗਾਉਣ ਦੀ ਟ੍ਰੇਨਿੰਗ ਦਿੱਤੀ ਗਈ। ਸੋ EcoSikh ਦੀਆਂ तमाम ਟੀਮਾਂ ਜੋ ਕਿ ਪੰਜਾਬ ਅਤੇ ਦੁਨੀਆ ਭਰ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਵਾਤਾਵਰਣ ਦੀ ਸੇਵਾ ਕਰ ਰਹੇ ਨੇ ਹੁਣ ਥਾਂ ਥਾਂ ਤੇ ਲਗਾਏ ਜਾਣਗੇ ਗੁਰੂ ਨਾਨਕ ਪਵਿੱਤਰ ਜੰਗਲ।
इसकी जो पूरी स्पिरिट है वो गुरु नानक देव जी के नाम से जुड़ी हुई है, वो है ही गुरु नानक पवित्र जंगल। अब पंजाब में भी बिल्कुल उसी शिद्दत के साथ हम इसको लगा रहे हैं और खास बात कि गुरुद्वारे के अंदर लगा रहे हैं, तो इससे अच्छी बात तो कोई और हो ही नहीं सकती। पिछले 8 साल से हम देश भर में, दुनिया भर में जंगल लगा रहे हैं, पर अपने खुद के देश में सब जगहों पर नहीं लगाया। और पंजाब में तो कई साल से हम लोग ये काम करना चाह रहे थे पर अभी तक हुआ नहीं था। तो ये बड़ी अच्छी बात है कि इस बार जब हो रहा है तो ऐसा हो रहा है कि सिर्फ एक नहीं, कई सारे मियावाकी मेथड से फॉरेस्ट लगने वाले हैं।
गुरु नानक सेक्रेड फॉरेस्ट मेरे से इतना ज़्यादा कनेक्टेड इसलिए भी है क्योंकि उसके साथ एक पवित्रता का एक भाव जुड़ा हुआ है, जो एक पॉजिटिव वाइब्रेशंस जो गुरु नानक जी के नाम के साथ जो आती है, तो वो उस जगह को, उस जंगल को एक बहुत पवित्र जगह बना देती है। तो वो एक मेरे लिए बहुत एक ऐसा एक हम्बलिंग एक्सपीरियंस था और आई एम वेरी ग्रेटफुल ऑल्सो उसके लिए।
जंगल एक वृक्षों से घिरी एक ऐसी जगह है कि आप उसमें चलकर जा भी नहीं सकते। तो हमें 1 वर्ग मीटर में 3 से 5 पौधे लगाने, और इस तरीके से लगाने हैं कि छोटे बड़े पेड़ों के पौधे सब मिलजुल कर लगे। तो हम एक बहुस्तरीय जंगल लगाते हैं, एक मल्टी लेयर फॉरेस्ट लगाते हैं। मतलब 30 गुना ज्यादा हरियाली होगी, 30 गुना ज्यादा ऑक्सीजन भी उसकी वजह से पैदा होगी, जीव जंतु रह सकते हैं, जो चिड़ियाएं उसमें आ सकती हैं, वो भी कई ज्यादा इन जंगलों की तरफ आकर्षित होंगे। और इनसे निकली जो नमी है वो बारिश के बादलों को भी अपनी तरफ आकर्षित करेगी।
सरदार अशरत ਸਿੰਘ ਜੀ ਮੇਰੇ ਪਿਤਾ ਜੀ ਅੰਮ੍ਰਿਤਸਰ ਤੋਂ ਬੰਬਈ ਗਏ ਸੀਗੇ 1969 ਵਿੱਚ, ਤੇ ਮੈਨੂੰ ਅੱਜ ਇੰਝ ਲੱਗ ਰਿਹਾ ਕਿ 50 ਸਾਲ ਬਾਅਦ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਮੈਨੂੰ ਇੱਕ ਕੰਮ ਦੇ ਕੇ ਵਾਪਸ ਪੰਜਾਬ ਭੇਜਿਆ। ਮਿਆਵਾਕੀ ਮੈਥਡੋਲੋਜੀ ਇੰਨੀ ਤਗੜੀ ਮੈਥਡੋਲੋਜੀ ਹੈ, ਸ਼ੁਭੇਂਦੂ ਸ਼ਰਮਾ ਜੀ ਨੇ ਜੋ ਕਰਾਈ ਉਹਦਾ ਅੱਜ ਪ੍ਰਤੱਖ ਅਸੀਂ ਦੇਖ ਸਕਦੇ ਹਾਂ ਕਿ 3 ਦਿਨ ਦੀ ਵਰਕਸ਼ਾਪ ਵਿੱਚ ਇੱਕ ਜੰਗਲ ਬਣਾਇਆ ਗਿਆ, ਗੁਰੂ ਨਾਨਕ ਪਵਿੱਤਰ ਜੰਗਲ। ਸੋ ਸਾਨੂੰ ਇਹ ਸਭ ਨੂੰ ਹੁਣ ਭਰੋਸਾ ਹੋ ਗਿਆ ਕਿ ਹਰ ਇੱਕੋ ਸਿੱਖ ਇੱਕ ਗੁਰੂ ਨਾਨਕ ਸੇਕਰੇਡ ਫੋਰੈਸਟ ਬਣਾ ਸਕਦਾ ਹੈ।
ਪ੍ਰਥਮ ਬਾਣੀ ਦੇ ਪਹਿਲੇ ਸ਼ਲੋਕ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਇਹ ਕਿਹਾ ਸੀ ਕਿ ਪਾਵਨ ਗੁਰੂ ਪਾਣੀ ਪਿਤਾ ਮਾਤਾ ਧਰਤ ਮਾਤ, ਕਿ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਹਵਾ ਪਾਣੀ ਅਤੇ ਧਰਤੀ ਆ, ਔਰ ਇਹਦੇ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਸੁਮੇਲ ਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਹੀ ਪੂਰੀ ਕਾਇਨਾਤ ਦੀ ਉਤਪਤੀ ਆ।
ये जो जंगल हम लोग बना रहे हैं ये सारे के सारे लिविंग सीड बैंक्स है, ये डेड सीड बैंक्स नहीं है। ये ही हमारी रियल हेरिटेज है। हमारा जो पलाई का पेड़ है, हमारे जो जाल के जंगल है, ये हमारी रियल हेरिटेज है। उसको हमें अगर बचा पाए वो हमारे सर्वाइवल के साथ कंप्लीटली इंटरलिंक्ड है। अगर ये नहीं बचा तो बस हमें बस बैठ के टाइम गिनना है कि वो हमारा नंबर कब आने वाला।
शुभेंदु शर्मा जी ਜਿਹੜੀ ਸਾਡੀ EcoSikh ਦੀ ਗੁਰੂ ਨਾਨਕ 550 ਐਪ ਹੈ, ਉਹਦੇ ਤੇ ਪਹਿਲੀ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਸੈਕਰਡ ਫੋਰੈਸਟ ਹੈ ਉਹਨੂੰ ਜੀਓ ਟੈਗ ਕਰ ਰਹੇ ਨੇ। ਐਜ਼ ਯੂ ਸੀ ਇਹ ਵੀ ਬੜੇ ਮਾਣ ਵਾਲੀ ਗੱਲ ਹੈ ਕਿ ਪਹਿਲੀ ਮੀਆਂਵਾਕੀ ਫੋਰੈਸਟ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਹੈ ਮੀਆਂਵਾਕੀ ਐਕਸਪਰਟ ਤੋਂ ਹੀ ਹੋ ਰਹੀ ਹੈ ਟੈਗ। ਵੀ ਆਰ ਵੈਰੀ ऑनर्ड जी।
मेरे दिल में जो बात आती है वो ये है कि ये काम किसी अकेले कंपनी का, अकेले EcoSikh ग्रुप का नहीं है, ये काम हम सबका है। जो आज इस काम से नहीं भी जुड़ा हुआ है ना, ये उसका भी काम। सांस हम ले रहे हैं वो किसी ना किसी दरख्त से तो आ ही रही है। तो जब हम सारे के सारे जुड़े हुए हैं इन पेड़ों से, इन जंगलों से, तो इन जंगलों को लगाने का काम भी हम सबका ही है। हम लोग को जिम्मेदारी लेनी है कि हम किसी और के लिए नहीं, हम अपने लिए जंगल लगाएं।
वाहेगुरु सतनाम वाहेगुरु सतनाम वाहेगुरु।